Okay, I'm live. Welcome to the markets. And so today's Wednesday, August 7th, and I'm going to start just by looking at the Nikkei on the 1 month chart and just wanted to show you guys what the panic was all about. And essentially, looking at this symmetry, we can see that angle is still holding as a support, right? So as long as this holds as a support, then I think things can continue higher and higher. But if this does eventually break, then possibly a back test of that 29,000 zone would become possible. So this is a very important angle, as you can see in the past. So ignore the news narratives, just pay attention to the charts, and that's what I tell you. And so month is shaping up just to be a wick and a back test of this zone. So I think things have the opportunity to just continue sideways or up for the short term for the Nikkei. So I think, yeah, still there's not much to fear out there. Everything's just doing what's supposed to be doing. So there you go. But I think one thing to for the Nikkei is if I put on the daily Ichimoku here, just zoom in a little bit, you can see that it is reaching a kind of resistance zone at that daily conversion line. So price could just consolidate a little bit lower for a few days before it breaks out, or it could break out tomorrow. We don't know, right? So just wanted to point that out. So that 35,172 is really looking like a resistance for the Nikkei. So that could affect some of our stocks as well, just because if this can't go higher, then maybe our stocks cannot go higher as well. So that leads me to the QQQ here. And this is a very obvious rejection here at the resistance level right there. And you can see that that level sits around 440, 441. And you can see exactly why it's not breaking above there. But pre-market, it is, right? So pre-market, it's at 445 and it's breaking above. So that is a good thing. So there's still a couple more. And if this can close back above this arc, then I believe the next step would be 458 for the QQQ. And then after that would be trying to break through all of this right here, right? All of this 458 all the way up to 463, and then try to continue higher and higher. So that's what I'm really looking for. And once like this is back to support, I think it'll gravitate to the 500s, 530 eventually. So that's what I have on my radar right there. So I really want to see how this closes the week for the QQQ. Still got a couple more days, but right now it's at 445. Hopefully this does not just turn into a wick and close back below like we're seeing yesterday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Let's go over a few of those earnings. Let's go over Airbnb first. So I'm going to pull up Airbnb on the weekly chart just to show you guys the symmetry of Airbnb. And you can see from the bottom, it got to the orange level and it got rejected, right? So that was the time to take profits. And now it lost all these angles, one angle at a time. This one tried to maintain, but once it lost it as a support, it flipped it to a resistance and collapsed. And now it's doing the same thing for this one, right? It lost this one as a support, or as losing as a support pre-market. The pre-market's way down there at 113. So it looks like if this closes the week below this previous low, and that previous low is around maybe 113.24, I think there's a possibility to go back here to the low 100s or even into the 90s, right? So this is looking pretty bad for Airbnb. like losing all these angles of support one level at a time. And now the next magnet would be this 45-degree angle below. And I think that's going to be the eventual target for the stock. But if this does recover throughout the day, then possibly this higher low could hold. So just got to keep an eye out on that. All right, let's go look at SMCI. So SMCI, it's down to 532, right? Which is basically right back to the bottom of Monday's candle, right? It's essentially right back down there in that zone again. But this is the log scale version of that chart. And you can see how the symmetry has been perfect here with that level. And then it hit that angle, got rejected. Now it lost the arc, and now it's trying to find a higher low, wherever that might be. But to get a better idea of where it might be, let's switch to linear scale here for SMCI. And the better idea is what I was talking about on my X last night, is that if this goes the week below, then gravitating lower to the 370s becomes a possibility, right? So it's not looking really that good on the short term, but on the higher time frame, still looking okay. Like it has a possibility to find that higher low and continue, because the market structure is still really bullish. It just had a major expansion, maybe too quickly, right? Like it just was a matter of weeks how high it got, and then it got rejected, and now it's just finding a new higher low. So whether that's going to be this angle or the angle below, or even this arc down here as well. So just got to keep an eye on that. And essentially, yeah, just got to be patient. Good morning, Cole. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, you guys can ask it in the chat. Let's see. We'll go check Tesla right now. So yeah, Tesla pre-market is back above 201. That is the level that I like to see, above 201, and especially I like to see it back above the 198. That is comforting, because the 198 level right there is the halfway Fibonacci between the 382 and it's between the 236. So I've talked about this numerous times with Tesla, that essentially this level, if you look in the past, it was a resistance here, a resistance here, a resistance zone here, and a support here, resistance, 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 right? So it's a very important zone to stay above. So I would like to see all weekly closes continue to close back above that 198. So if that is possible, then the 221 becomes possible again. And then once that happens, then this trading range will become possible again between the 382 and the 258. So if I put back on the Ichimoku here, you can see there's still some resistance above on the weekly chart. And that is at 204.90, right? Right there, there's some resistance with that. And if I go to the daily chart, because today's a new day, the conversion line there sits at 208.34. So I can see this being like a magnet for price to go to. I think when I said yesterday on the live stream that the top of the cloud should hold as a support, and sure enough, it did, right? So I can see price just riding up this cloud until it gets to that 208. And then once it gets there, then it might hit a little wall, a little resistance, and then possibly just consolidate more and more before it's ready to go higher. But the main point is I want to see candles still close above that 198, because that is good. And so far, every day this week, it has closed above that, right? On Monday, it closed above the 198. On Tuesday, it closed above that 198. And today's Wednesday, and I think it has a possibility of closing above that 198 as well. So I think that is the target we got to watch out for. But like I said, there is going to be more and more resistance the higher the price goes. So just got to take that into consideration. Let's see. Let's look at. We'll look at. Let's look at Palantir. So Palantir on the daily chart here. Today's a new day, and its pre-market is at $26.99 right up here. So it's looking like this is going to be support again, the 25.50, and I could see price going up towards the $29 level up here, and possibly even higher to back to the $30 level, which is the 618 Fibonacci level. So yeah, the 50%, it just was closed a couple of days below it, but now it's back above. So I can consider this as support now. Again, the 25.48, and it looks like it's pretty good for a continuation higher. Let's see. Let's look at NVIDIA pre-market. So back on 6. And let me go to the monthly chart here just to see where things lie. Yeah, so it held that support perfectly. And now it's even going back above that arc again, which is pretty good idea. It's a pretty good deal. But on the weekly chart, we can see that price is starting to close back above this baseline, which is a really good thing. And it's right there. So there's going to be some resistance on the way up. And the 115 level is the conversion line. So essentially, it's just still in a range. And nothing too exciting is going to happen either way until it kind of breaks above that 115. Or if it starts to go lower, then that could create some more panic as well. Back down to that 93 level. So just in a big range right now, just like everything, really. Everything's still in a range. It breaks resistance. All of these charts broke some sort of support, and they need to regain that support to continue higher. And let's just take a look at ARK. Does this have a possibility of hovering here? Let's see. So yeah, it's 4109 pre-market up here. So it did lose that angle support, but it's done it many times before. So it's not that big of a deal. But what I really like to see is get back up to the conversion line. But both of them are sloping down pretty good. So that's going to mean that if it does touch those lines, they're going to get rejected pretty nicely. So essentially, yeah, just got to be patient. And let's go here to the daily chart. Yeah, so even on the daily chart, the conversion line is starting to flatten out here, and that's going to be some resistance on the way up to 41.77. So previous support was lost. Now it's flipped to resistance, so just got to be patient on this one. But at least it looks like a higher low has been found in the short term. Good morning, Ben. Yeah, again, it's just all about market symmetry. And yeah, it doesn't really, there's really no success or failure. It's just levels of support, right? You can see the levels break as a support or a resistance. And once they do, then they could flip to another support or resistance. So like, for example, on this SMCI chart that I showed you, right? Let's go back there. So yeah, it's not really about GAN failing you. It's about being proactive and taking profits or buying when you see levels hit. So like when you saw this exponential growth happen with SMCI, if you didn't take profits up here, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because it just had a massive gain and there's some resistance up here with angles and arcs, right? And then right here is a level, right? So this level was holding us as a support. So you can assume it was going to hold support right here as well. So you could take a chance, and then it didn't hold support here. So then you have to go to the next level. And now it's not really holding support here, but it still has 2 days left in the week to hold that support. So if it does, then this could continue back up higher as well. But if it doesn't, then it can go back to the next level of support, which is right here. which actually would make the most sense to me because it is kind of a range before price broke out, right? So it's more about levels of support and resistance. If one breaks, then it will be flipped. Like if it came back up to the orange, if it flipped it back to support, then that would be a new support level on the way up, right? So it's just a matter of paying attention to if price breaks these levels or not. But usually, all charts they follow some sort of market symmetry, and you got to just pay attention to it. And if it gets down to a level, there's a good probability of those levels holding. So that's when you either want to take a buy, or if something gets to a resistance, that's when you maybe want to like take some profits at that time. That's all. And if something breaks it and flips it to support, then on that successful back test of a support, then you could probably buy again to continue higher and higher, right? And let's see what else is going on pre-market. Let's take a look at maybe Apple. Yeah, Apple is doing nothing really. Like it back tested that level, and that level held as support. And essentially, what you can see now is just in the middle of a gigantic range where that's support, and that arc above is resistance around 240. So it's right in the middle of nothing, right? And that the time to take a stab at buying was when it hit that level on Monday, right? That would have been perfect opportunity because according to Gann, that still should be support. And sure enough, it was. So that's how you kind of utilize this, right? You're like, okay, this was a previous resistance level here. And now if it backtests, I'm going to take a stab at it, maybe buy it. And if you did, you would have been in some profit, right? So that's the idea behind it. And if this ever were to break, then the next level of support would be this 45-degree angle down below to continue higher. But so far, that is the support level right there. And if I even turn on the Ichimoku, it held that conversion line as well so far. But this is the monthly chart. There's still 23 days left. Let's see what it looks like on the daily chart here. Yeah, so on the daily chart, clearly there's resistance above. Not only is there resistance with the top of the cloud here, but there's also resistance here at 210. So support was found, but now there's resistance here, more resistance here, then more resistance here on the way up, right? So to really get any momentum back, it's going to start to have to close candles back above that 216 to continue higher and higher. MMM, yeah. Any chance I could check out 3M? Okay, so 3M on the daily chart. Yeah, pre-market is 125. And 125 is basically around where it closed out yesterday. But yeah, on the daily chart, there was a massive explosion. This this candle here, it was a 22% daily candle on Friday, and now it's still above the conversion line and the baseline here. So essentially, what's going to happen is probably it looks like it's going to trend down, maybe back and retest at least these levels, right? Maybe go back to 115, maybe go back to 113 or so to maybe build a new base to try to continue higher. But so far, that is looking like the target. Unless it can just build momentum and break these highs, but lower, it looks like it's not going to make a new high soon, but it could come back up to like 127, 128, and then roll over like that as well. But let's take a look at the weekly chart on it. And same situation. The 113, there's more confluence of that 113 number with the conversion line there for 3M. So it looks like, for me, it looks like that's going to be where the target is for 3M before it tries to attempt to go higher. Okay. Let's see, the next question is, CLSK and Bitcoin recovering to previous levels this month. Let's look at CLSK. So this is this is my linear scale chart for CLSK. And what we see here is that it is essentially going back up to this angle above right here, and that's kind of at 1364. But there's lots of resistance with the conversion line at 1499 and the baseline at 1703. But I think the better idea is to use a log scale chart of CLSK because it shows things more clearly. So basically, this blue level was support, right? And it lost it as support. And now it's going to be resistance because a pre-support flipped to resistance. And so I can see price coming back up here to the 1360s, but I don't think it's going to break above too much. Like it could wick above and then start to roll over. So the real target might be back to this 45-degree angle, to be honest. Around, it depends on time. Like if it dropped immediately, it'd be 8, but if it slowly drifted sideways, it could be like 10 or 11, right? But just you can see here with this angle how important it was, right? Look at it was a big resistance right here, wicked above so many times. And then finally right here, it looks like it's finally a support, but it never successfully back tested that angle. So going back to test it as a support after breaking out is sometimes necessary. So essentially that could happen next week, or it could happen up here in September of 2025, right? We don't really know when it's going to hit that angle, but sometime it might hit it in the future. So, but essentially, I think it depends on Bitcoin as well. But Bitcoin is also at a resistance as well, right? Yeah, so Bitcoin, it held that angle perfectly, or sorry, that arc perfectly. But the biggest thing you got to take away with this is when you add in the Ichimoku, it's just in a range, right? And it's approaching resistance. And this resistance is going to be anywhere between where this conversion and baseline meet around 60,000 all the way up to maybe even 62,500. So I could see a candle wicking above to 62.5 and then kind of rolling over again as well, right? Because a previous support, right? It was support here, 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 and it was resistance there for a couple of weeks, but back to support. But now it's back to resistance again. So that I don't see price really exploding up unless you can see a giant bullish engulfing candle closing back above that level. So yeah, it's just there's a lot of resistance above now for Bitcoin for a lot of the Bitcoin miners. So do I think they're going to recover to previous month levels this month? I don't really see that this month. But if you do put on the monthly chart here, you can see it is holding the conversion line. So what I can really see is another month, like this month might close back above or like into the 60s or something. That's possible. But the next month, I don't really see it breaking too much above because you can see all these monthly candles like going lower and lower. So I can still see more monthly candles like just keeping that pattern until there's like a new base formed, right? And once there's a new base formed, we can see things going up. And that might happen later this year, maybe closer to election time or something. But I don't really see this month or maybe even next month getting back above to these like 65,000 levels or beyond, really. That's my current opinion on it. Casper chart, huh? Well, that one has been disappointing. Where is it? Yeah, that one, like I had a GAN on it, but it doesn't even work anymore because they're down. So this one is useless. Like essentially, it only works when the lines are in the charts. So I guess this is an example of, again, not really working because it broke through the bottom of the chart. So you can just erase that. But on a monthly basis, you can see the conversion line sits way up here at 3 cents. So could it come back up there? I would hope so, but there's no guarantee. And here on the weekly chart, the conversion sits around 0.01974. and that would be my shorter term target for it for resistance. And on the daily chart here, you're looking at 0.016. So that is, this conversion line is pretty big resistance so far. You can see after this bearish cross, it just kept going lower and lower. But hopefully this wick will be the low. We'll see. But this is kind of the definition of a falling knife, because you don't really know where it's going to stop. And it's a chart that you don't really want to buy, in my opinion, because it's just, you're guessing where support is. And I have no idea, right? Support could be here or support could be down here. We don't know, right? So just got to take one day at a time. And once it starts to close above certain levels, then it has a possibility to go towards the cloud and whatnot. Okay, Andrew, UPST upstart. Yeah, so upstart on the daily chart. Yeah, 2961. Here it is. Was in the cloud. Now it's breaking above levels. This is really good to see. This is a huge gap up, big gap up, right? So it looks like it's going to be flipping levels back to support. If we go on the weekly chart here, same thing. The weekly chart, it's opening. It looks like it wants to open. There's what, 3 minutes to open? Yeah, above this baseline, which is a good thing. But this is a weekly candle, so this still has a possibility of just turning into a wick and possibly closing back below this 2878 level. So I kind of see that as a possibility, that there's going to be excitement this morning. Around the week, people will probably close it back down below this $28, $28.50 level, and in between the conversion line and baseline here. I could see that as a possibility. And you're talking about the 200-day moving average on it. Let's see. Yeah, the 200-day is... Yeah, the 200-day moving average is 27.79, so it's already above it, right? So I think, yeah, it has a possibility of going above it. But like I said, on the weekly chart, it might close below that 28.50 on the week. So despite all this excitement here, it's getting close to these candles up here. So it's probably getting closer and closer the higher it goes to a resistance level of the previous candles. So I think if anybody bought down here, like, it would be wise to maybe take profits on the way up here, just because things most likely like to go back and back test levels, and at least the 200-day moving average around 27.70. And let's see here, the next one, Shop. So Shopify, yeah, it had good earnings, right? So I was talking about on the live stream last night that essentially I was worried about getting back below this arc, and I'm like, I want to see it close back above, and now it is, right? After earnings, it's back above, so this looks really good. Really, really good for the future now, because I wanted to see if I even take off the Ichimoku here, because you can see it's back above the conversion line too. Let me just take off the Ichimoku with that one. You can clearly see that it is now in the symmetry that I like, right? It's back within the arc, and it's back above the 100, but it's still below the 50. So 67.91 is going to be resistance, because look at that. Like, it couldn't break through at a candle open. The market open. Welcome, market. So if you bought down here, I think profits around 68, 80, yeah, 60.11 would be a good idea, right? Let's see, MSTR. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and MicroStrategy, yeah, it's back at 14. See, it's back above support too. And it was, it hit that 45-degree angle, and essentially this, it did open below it. I thought it was going to get to the 50 week moving average, but it never did. And essentially what I see now is price and reclaim these previous highs here. Do that. I think I lost connection. Sorry about that, guys. Let me try to get back on here.